Customerland is a podcast about customers, how to get more of them, how to keep them, what makes them tick. We talk to the experts, the technologies, and occasionally actual people, customers, to find out what they're all about. So if you're a CX pro, a loyalty marketer, a brand owner, an agency planner, if you're a CRM and personalization geek, if you're a customer service, CSAT, NPS nerd, you finally have a home. I'm Mike Giambattista. Welcome to Customerland. Dave Singer is Global Vice President, Go-to-Market Strategy at Verint. And I was fortunate enough to be at an earlier presentation today where Dave announced a couple of really, really fascinating things that Verint is debuting. So Dave, first of all, welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here. It's always great to come to these events, and so many great people to talk to.
So now that the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, and it's legal to talk about this stuff, just give us a high level of what came out this morning.
Sure. So before I dive into the four things we talked about this morning, I want to set the stage a little bit. At Verint, we've been talking about CX automation for at least a year. And that's really, we believe, the holy grail in the contact center of the ability to raise capacity and raise customer experience while lowering cost, right? There's always a balance between those.
Sure.
Finally, you can do it all. And when you do that, it's not about some theoretical thing out there in the future. It's about using this to drive AI business outcomes now. There's no need to wait anymore. It's about getting these outcomes. So,
which, if I may,
please.
That's a big change in the narrative and the expectations, because I think it was you this morning who were saying that, in so many of the conversations you have, how are you guys deploying AI? Are you using it? Yeah, we're kicking the tires. We're trying to figure it out. We got some tests we're running. And, my big understanding, I think clearly from what you were saying, but also, in the broader marketplace, people are now starting to figure out what the business value is here and how quickly you can develop business outcomes.
Absolutely. I talk to a lot of customers, and I ask every customer, so are you working with AI? Oh, yeah, of course we are. Of course. Awesome. What are you working on? Oh, we've got some knowledge stuff. We're working on some wrap up and summary stuff. Great. So what kind of outcomes are you seeing? Crickets.
Still working on
crickets.
Those.
Well, it's in the lab.
Yeah.
And you get into this sort of analysis paralysis, and that last mile of operationalizing is really hard. And the approach a lot of vendors and a lot of customers take is, well, to get to the AI, I have to re-platform everything, and I got to move everything to the cloud. And then 18 months later, after I do all this infrastructural work, then I can get to AI. Our approach is, again, we love you just the way you are, right? You've got, infrastructure you love. You've got some stuff on-prem that you want to keep because it's working great. Fantastic. Our approach with our open platform is we want to deploy our AI to connect to wherever you are today. So we believe every step should have value. There's no waiting to get there. So it's really about driving value now, using the power of AI now, not a theoretical thing in the future after you move a bunch of other stuff.
Which is now doable. And I wonder, the technology, as Verint has explained, has been in development here for better part of a decade. Yeah. But I feel like, completely anecdotally, like so much more of the conversations in the marketplace are what I can now do with this thing that was really a shiny object a year and a half ago.
Exactly. If you look at what Verint has been talking about for the last year, a year ago, we announced our open platform and the concept of bots, which one of our A's, I wish I'd done it, coined. BOT stands for Business Outcome Today.
Love it.
Right? We announced all this last year. And then for the last, chunk of time, all our announcements were like, look at the great customer success in buying this. Like, hey, it's being adopted by customer ABCD. And over the last, 4 months, and you saw on stage this morning, all our conversations now are about, look at the results our customers have achieved. $10 million savings, $16 million savings, $4 million savings, $70 million savings, right? And that's
in very short periods of time.
Exactly. So it's not theoretical. It's a real outcomes now, not experiments to drive outcomes next year.
Yeah, that's a really big deal.
Absolutely.
So, without giving away any kind of secret sauce
Sure.
or saying things you shouldn't because they're just not quite public yet,
Yeah.
I got to ask,
Yeah.
what are you looking for? What do you think? Not even. Where do you see the big announcements coming in the next 6 to 12 months?
Sure. So, Dave Singer's opinion, on this. Everybody always asks me, what's next? What's the next big breakthrough? So, Gen AI, if you look back, in August of 22, no one had heard of Gen AI outside of data scientists.
Right.
December 22, that's all the world was talking about, right? And then the last year and a half has been about driving that benefit. And it went from, there's OpenAI to, then there's Bard and there's Bedrock and there's Strawberry and there's, I lose track of all the names. In fact, it's funny. I just heard someone the other day say, that's just old school Gen AI. Like, old school? It didn't start until 2 years ago. But so I think Gen AI is going to continue to progress along that. And that's going to hit the incrementalism phase in a little while. The quantum leaps only last so long. But one thing I talked about in my presentation this morning, when we talked about our TimeFlex, the ability to bring schedule flexibility to agents, is Gen AI is not good for every problem. Gen AI is very good at language, not very good at math.
Right.
So I think there's going to be some major breakthrough at the Gen AI level of breakthrough in the other dimension of AI around analytical capabilities, not just linguistic capabilities, sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. And then we're going to see this explosion of capabilities around a whole class of problems where Gen AI hasn't solved for. So I think Gen AI, of course, is going to keep going. The ability to, for example, shameless plug, we talked about knowledge automation this morning. So the ability for using Gen AI models to look across every piece of knowledge in an organization so they can give the right answers to call center agents now without rebuilding anything. It's incredible.
Right.
And we're going to see more of that. But there's a whole other class of problems around forecasting and scheduling, market launch analysis, and that's not in the Gen AI space. And I think we're going to see some amazing breakthroughs in the next year around that other class of AI.
So this may actually be an off-the-record question because sure. I don't know if it's answerable under these circumstances. If it's not, you can just look at me like can't do it. But there's so much of what Verint has developed, is developing, that's deployable outside the confines of what we call CX. There's so many capabilities that I just have to wonder: is Verint looking beyond the current, its current kind of market strongholds at new places to deploy these amazing things?
So I'll answer with what we said this morning, which is, insights and automation is needed, not just in the contact center, but across the enterprise. So we definitely have our eyes on more than just our traditional contact center space.
Gotcha. Well said. Sorry, I had to ask the question, but I've been dying.
Any follow-on question, I'd have to kill you after I answered. So we'll leave it at that.
and because this is an audio medium, you don't know that Dave showed up with a Captain America shield, so he's probably capable of killing me for asking those kinds of questions. So, Jason Valdina is Senior Director of Engagement and Channel Strategy at Verint. He is deep in the go-to-market side of things over there. Jason and I had the pleasure of speaking at last year's Engage event. But there's an awful lot going on this year that wasn't even kind of a twinkle in the eye of CX at that point. But Jason, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Good to see you again.
So just for context, can you give us just a little bit about what your role is at Verint?
Yeah, so as part of the go-to-market team, my particular focus is on kind of two key areas. One is our agent desktops, so the applications that agents are going to be using during their shift, and it's kind of the main surface that a lot of this AI and sort of agent efficiency technology will be surfaced, whether that's knowledge, case management, transcriptions, summaries of interactions, all that stuff is kind of surfaced in our desktop. We obviously work with other desktops as well. And I spent a lot of time kind of mostly adding new channels like TikTok. We're about to launch this month,
Really?
Or October. So we'll be supporting TikTok finally, which is great. And that's just at customer demand, and that always requires partnerships and new APIs to integrate with and all that stuff. So, we've been on that journey for years with adding X/Twitter and WhatsApp and that whole corner of the world, alongside more traditional things like chat or email and voice.
Right.
And the other thing, I work with my colleagues in go-to-market to think about different ways that we can automate those conversations, whether they're totally self-service or it's been handed over, but ways that AI can kind of drive agent efficiency and help better outcomes with customers. So it's interesting. I feel like with our existing customer base and the prospects we talk to, the challenges are getting more and more exciting, and I think there's more and more optimism. The questions that businesses are asking are kind of, I don't know, cooler than it used to be.
Well, maybe, not to sound demeaning at all, but they're probably a little bit more intelligent now, because the whole world was, I think, myself included, and everybody I spoke with a year ago, AI was the quintessential shiny object. This is going to change the world if I only knew what it was.
That's right. When you and I talked last year, that was about 14 months ago.
Uh-huh.
In that context, we had just started talking about, we had debuted a series of specialized bots, and we've continued to do that over the past, really the 18 months to 2 years. But last year when we saw you, we had announced a whole new batch of specialized bots, and we've continued to build that out to, I think we're at 60 or 70 now. And, you're right. I think customers were asking more basic questions about what they could do and can't do, and hey, am I able to do this with 2 bots? Can I, just the idea of 2 + 2 could equal 5 didn't seem like something that anybody wanted to ask. So I think, the art of the possible, I think, has inspired a lot of our customer base, and I think prospects are. This is interesting because I think we're seeing more prospects that have had bad experiences, had made investments a few years ago, and it just didn't go right, whether that was internal. So one I'm thinking about right now, their internal team, they were saying, we're doing this in-house, we're going to do it. And there was nothing wrong with that. In fact, our technologies could be used by in-house teams, but they really went rogue and built it in-house, and it just took forever, and the outcome was lackluster. And they were like, okay, we need to step it up and use better tools, and we need guidance from a company like you guys. So I think that's exciting to see.
So before we hit the record button here, we were both talking about your unique corner of the world and what you see and hear out there. And again, without naming names, because there's no need to, but conceptually, I'm thinking in your role as go-to-market here, you're probably talking to people about their felt needs in a place that are kind of just, it's the new ones. Like, I didn't know I needed this, but now I kind of think there might be a solution for something that, could accelerate whatever it happens to be for them in some big ways. So again, maybe high level, but what are some of the concepts and the problems and the themes that you're hearing out there?
Well, the first thing I would say, Mike, is that companies that are working with us, by and large, have started with data. They've started with analytics. So whether that's speech analytics, text analytics, quality and coaching, all that stuff, some of these companies have been developing these wells of interaction data, customer interaction data for decades. In a few instances, that's the case. So the most exciting thing I think that I'm seeing is that those customers are coming to us and saying, all right, we get the AI thing, and some of these bots I think we can really put to use. How do we know where to start? And the best thing is, you have the most incredible data at your fingertips. Have you teased that data to tell you where to aim it? What do you mean? Well, look at your call data. Look at all the reams of calls that you have recorded over the years. Even newer customers, you've been doing this for 2 years. Look at that data, and what does it tell you? So one of the customers that I'm speaking with today is Volaris Airlines, who we have a unique story with them because we've worked with them for about 7 years. That's not unique, but we really started working with them for their first chatbot. That's really how the relationship started, and it was on Facebook Messenger. And over that time, they have expanded to using our knowledge automation bot to aim that at agents now. So it's not about just the end customer. It's aiming it to their agents. But they're all using their own data. They're looking at the data and they said, we found that we can only go so far with the customer-facing self-service when it comes to agents, if it comes to agents. We know there's a couple of things that our agents will struggle with. Yeah, we've used that data to coach them and guide them in real time, but we want to do more. And they know exactly what those use cases are, and it's fascinating. And every business has those weird edge cases. This morning we're talking to a utility company, and they said, and you and I can relate to this. Like, we have outages, and sometimes the information that AI can give to a customer when they call or they chat with us or something like that, it's only as good as our field technicians have actually put in.
Right.
So whatever we know from the field, a tree hit a pole and now the power's out, whatever the thing is, that's as good as we can do. So we're actually focusing on trying to get the pipeline from the street, guys in a truck who are fixing something, getting that in a format that we can, most quickly use. So what are you doing? Well, we're trying to get that in text form, so it could be spoken, it could be uttered through a chatbot of some sort. So that's really interesting to think that companies are really struggling at that level to say, how do we get that to be accurate and faster?
Well, so much of what was announced this morning are completely new ways of thinking about the problems.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about a couple of the bots that you announced, the scheduling bot, I forget the name of it, but
the TimeFlex bot, yeah.
TimeFlex bot, like, to let AI, to let it loose on all the complex scheduling of your staff, which could number in the thousands, and their unique moment by moment needs. Those are tasks that are just literally impossible to manage on a human level. Just impossible.
And today they're managed through spreadsheets and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, not to say that there aren't scheduling and forecasting systems.
Sure.
And we have some of those in market. We have competitors for that, but TimeFlex is a game changer. I never thought that I would be excited about scheduling. Like, it's not. It doesn't seem like the most exciting thing, but when you think about agents and shift-based workers and how important that is, that's huge.
And I forget who was talking about it earlier, but that attrition in that realm is, upwards of 25%.
Yeah, and it's going up.
Yeah, it's going up. And, if you can deploy something like this, which gives these frontliners the ability to adjust on the fly and improve their work-life balance, and the results that you're already seeing, those are giant things.
Yeah. I'm speaking with Robin Garis from Metrigy Research today. And one of the reasons I was really excited about speaking with her is she's done a lot of surveys of executives around agent experience, specifically around retention and churn. She is saying that since the great resignation of COVID, she's saying that, attrition rates went down, got more stable, and she said it's on the rise again. And the biggest reason now is agent burnout. They're just doing a lot of repetitive tasks. There's more volume than ever, and they're just getting burnt out.
Right.
And also, I think the contact center is trying to be leaner and not have as many people there, and they're not laying people off necessarily, but AI is giving them the ability to not have to scale as much. So if that's not done right, agents are actually taking on more work. Right. And it's more stressful. So TimeFlex is interesting also because think about the supervisors. Normally there's kind of a ratio of as you hire more agents, you in turn need more supervisors.
Right.
And while companies aren't getting rid of their supervisors, they don't have to have that ratio all the way up the chain. If they hire 400 or 500 more agents, that doesn't mean that they absolutely need 10 more supervisors.
Right.
Because to your point, a lot of the work they are doing, besides coaching and getting involved and being an escalation path, is just making sure that there's coverage. So-and-so's sick, all right, we need somebody for the night shift, whatever that is. Having that be driven by AI just doesn't mean that supervisors go away. It means that they're actually more focused on the quality that's being delivered. They can jump into conversations and coach in real time. Right. And they still have to monitor forecasting and scheduling, but it's a lot of the grunt work there is automated. That stuff is super exciting.
Massive change for a lot of these people.
It's a great example of applied AI, just to take stuff that I think the best quote of is around taking applying AI on the things that humans shouldn't have to do.
Right.
I think there's a lot of things that like we really shouldn't be spending our time doing this, you know.
Right. That nobody's really conceived of before.
Right.
Like, you really have to step away from your problems, from the things that you do, and wonder, how could I be deployed? How could my team be deployed in a different way? So I think it might have been Jamie this morning was talking about at one point, one of your bots, and I can't remember, Copilot maybe, I don't know what it was, but that you really don't need to go get more analysts to do the kind of work that this function can now provide. Like, it doesn't just, scaling insights doesn't always have to mean getting more analysts.
That's right.
And again, I can't remember because I've got 10,000 bots floating through my head right now, what it was called, but those
the data insights bot is the main one. And then today we showed that working with text analytics.
Okay.
So yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. So what else are you hearing out there? What kinds of things, for people who are in the space but can't attend here, they're going to hear bits and pieces about what Verint is up to right now and how it could be deployed. But, you're in actual conversations with people about their actual needs.
Yeah.
So can you kind of lump these conversations together in some main themes?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one theme off the top of my head that I've been thinking a lot about is this sort of infinite loop that I see customers in, where they're at some point in that loop, and the theme seems to be they're either trying to do what we talked about a few minutes ago, which is look at their engagement data with fresh eyes for insight into where they can invest AI next. What's the next small thing I could do? What's some incremental change I can make? And where is my best bet placed? Is that on the agent? Is it in self-service? Is it in some back office process? Where can I apply that stuff so it has meaningful value? And how do I prove that? Yeah. So they're looking at data to figure out where to apply it. They're looking for data to prove that value was realized. And they're looking for data to power that use case. So they're like, I'll pick Valeris. We want to be able to, this is true, we want to be able to push SMS and WhatsApp notifications to customers when there's a gate change, something that happens to all of us if we fly. They particularly found this was a reason that people would contact the contact. What gate am I, to having to answer those questions. That means an agent has to go look that up. It takes a lot of time. That's frustrating. That's a really seemingly simple data point to get. But according to the Valeris Airlines guys, depending on the airport and the systems they're using, that data is not easy to get. And sometimes, they had to do a lot of integrative work to get that data point reliably into a chatbot that can deliver that and push that message out. So I think thinking about data not only as insights, but where does data live? Where's the gate change number? What's the new gate number? That kind of stuff. It's like the telco or the utility company I mentioned. Like, what's the reason for this outage and how long is it going to last? That's a people problem. Someone has to report that, right? So I think these things are the theme there is data is there's more focus on data than ever. What can I learn from that data to figure out where I'm going to apply it? Can I prove that the way I'm applying AI is valuable? And is the way I applied AI requiring a data point that is hard to get? And how do I get it? And a lot of that stuff's exciting. A lot of the integration work that I think we're starting to see is super cool.
Do you think that's kind of a new way of thinking out there? It seems like it is to me. Like, this is a more mature phase of there are tool sets out there that can do some pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be thinking about them.
I mean, the thing that's the freshest to me is like the insight. This won't be new to you, as I know you're sort of a broader thinker around CX and you focus on the marketing side as well. Like customer experience professionals on the marketing side, the growth side of businesses have had this data for a long time. But they've used it for different reasons. They've used it to target ads,
right,
and to come up with specialized campaigns to segment their audience. And they've used the same data, but there was a real silo around who got that data, where did it live?
Oh, absolutely,
right.
It's under lock and key.
Yeah,
this is marketing data,
and those walls are coming down.
Yeah,
I think when you saw Jamie this morning talking about and Dan talking about AI and data at the core of our platform, that's partially why, is that, we have certainly, I mean, personally, the most exciting customers that we have are the ones where IT and the contact center are collaborating with marketing and sales. They're all.
So that actually happens, is what you're saying.
It not. I did say that it happens. It's not happening a lot, but it's. But it to me personally, it's very exciting when you see that. We had forget what company she was from. We had a user group this morning, and one of our customers was talking about stuff that they're doing. That I was like, our customers are doing this stuff. I mean, she was talking complete customer journey. She was talking about having voice artists come in and record clips for their voice IVA bot so that it had a personality, and that was on the marketing side, but they want to use the same voiceovers for their customer care side, and like just this holistic thinking that to be able to do that in large companies is sometimes really difficult. Well, even to know that marketing is doing something,
Well, yeah, true. And the fact that it's now possible, because think 2 years ago, that was, you couldn't think in those terms because it wasn't feasible. It just wasn't.
So, I mean, I mentioned Valeris again. Months ago, we started planning the agenda for this, and we had to pick customers, and customers had to accept quite a few months ago to say, yeah, we're on board with sharing our story or presenting, being interviewed, whatever it is. Valeris told us about 3 weeks ago, they sent us slides they're going to use, and they're so subtle about it. They said that we have reached a point now where, and they're an international airline now. They fly, across all of the Americas. They also go, I think, to London and Paris, but they're mostly a Latin America, North America company. But they said we're at a point now where the cost of the contact center is offset by the revenue that agents generate. So they've opened up enough capacity for agents.
That's the golden ticket.
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's the golden airline ticket. It's they have a couple of steps. So they have invested very heavily. When I say heavily, a lot of iteration. Total amount of money, I won't disclose, but it's not a lot. But there's a lot of iteration that went into it. So over, arguably, it really is 7 years total. But the past 3 years, they've really doubled down and added a lot more things that their front-facing, customer-facing chatbot can do. So they've reduced. They've gotten their containment rate. It's now at 83%.
Wow.
So 70% of volume is coming to the contact center. That's insane.
Yeah, that really is.
But when those conversations come in, they're using our knowledge automation bot, so they're getting those answers faster, and they're able. And the business is being proactive, right? I'm telling you about notifications being sent out. One of the notification types they're sending out is if a flight is overbooked, they're offering vouchers to those customers, so they're more willing to accept it by just yes,
right,
that's it. And so they've automated all this stuff, and the net result is that agents have bandwidth in the right context to say, hey, Mike, I can upgrade you for an extra $20, or do you have 2 bags so we can give you a 50% discount on your second bag? And they have a whole list of things that they can offer and they can add to the reservation, and that those tasks have, according to them, have completely offset the actual cost of the contact center. It's insane.
Yeah.
I was like, why did you wait until 3 weeks before the event?
This is actually
tell
really
me that. And
big
it's on
news.
one of their slides, and I keep making the text bigger, and they keep making it smaller.
No, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about it. Daniel Ziv is Vice President of AI and Analytics at Verint, and as you're about to hear, it's a big job with an awful lot going on. But first, Daniel, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Pleasure to be here.
So this morning we heard about the Genie Bot and all that went into it. And for people who don't have the context that I now have because of this morning's presentation, it might just sound like another feature announcement. But this is far from that. This is something totally different. And I don't want to spill the beans. I'd rather have you do that. So maybe first, tell us about your role at Verint, and then we can talk about this Genie Bot because it's pretty phenomenal.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all excited. But so, yeah, I run the AI analytics go-to-market strategy at Verint. I've been with Verint since 2002, so it's been a while, but who's counting the years? I love my job. It's probably one of the most exciting years in my career at Verint.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, so there's so much going on. And, we're talking a lot about AI and analytics and how to embed it. And I think the key is really, generating AI outcomes, which is really the theme of this event. So it's not, it's not about which model you're using or, what your LLM, or it's really what outcomes you're trying to achieve, how we get you to those outcomes as quickly as possible with the focus on now. You can get started now, no matter what your infrastructure is. There's a lot of different bots that you can embed. Some are embedded within the Verint platform. Some are add-ons. You can add it in the cloud, even that. So I think that's the excitement, is people realize, wow, I can actually get some of this. Everybody's excited about AI, but they haven't really seen the outcomes from all their experiments. We're generating outcomes rather than just experimentation. And I think that's the theme for the Genie Bot as well, is how we're leveraging what customers are already doing and just supercharging it.
Well, we were just talking before we hit the record button about some pretty phenomenal outcomes. We'll leave that until it's an official press release, but pretty big deal. One of the big takeaways for me this morning, and even throughout the rest of this event, has been the immediacy with which these technologies can be deployed, the ease with which they can be deployed, but the immediacy with which they deliver results. And that's a shift in the whole AI narrative everywhere, I think. Right. But you guys are actually doing it.
We are, and we have the outcomes to prove it. So we deployed this about a year ago when we launched this initiative, and we have actually a risk-free program where we're launching this within 30 days. And if customers don't see the impact they're expecting, they don't have to pay. And we haven't had a single customer say we haven't seen the outcomes yet. So I think it's a good bet there. We're seeing the outcomes. We've been exceeding our expectations. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in outcome. I just came from a session where I was blown away. We're talking about over $1 billion of impact achieved within a year. So some of these companies are obviously large, but the impact is phenomenal.
So this morning you talked about, and I think this was the official debut announcement for Genie Bot. And as I mentioned, it could just be another feature announcement, but this isn't. This is something totally different. Can you explain it?
Yeah. So first, let me take it up a notch before we get down to Genie. We announced business analytics. So business analytics is critical. AI has a lot to do with the insights you're driving, and Gen AI can help accelerate that, and that's really our focus. And we realized that different people in organizations need different kind of analytics. There's the executives and decision makers that need answers to quick questions, some visual reports. They want to naturally ask their question, have a conversation with their data. And we have Data Insights Bot that does exactly that. It provides your key KPIs, state of your business, quick answers. Not a deep dive analysis, but it gives you the answers you need immediately with a very easy interface and a visual interface. Then we've heard a lot. There was another session I attended from a customer who has this whole data science team, and they're extracting Verint data, which represents about 70% of their behavioral data. And then there's other sources of data they have from other systems, and they're unifying all of that. They want to marry the data, mash it up, create their own dashboards. And we're very open to that. It was a great session because, yes, they're leveraging the Verint platform. It's generating behavioral data, but they're also sharing it externally. And they have a data science team that are using that. And we have all the APIs to extract that data. And again, outcomes to prove it. And that was also successful. Genie is in the third bucket, which is the business analyst. We're the market leader in speech analytics. It's deployed in over 80 languages and, many hundreds, if not thousands of customers using it globally. And it has demonstrated amazing outcomes. And it's almost like these outcomes are so great that people they see it as almost as a bottleneck. The session I came out of, there's a company that has 17 analysts. Their ROI per analyst is $500,000 per analyst. Now, we're doing here two things. First of all, yes, they can hire more analysts because each analyst is generating great ROI. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard to find these analysts or train them, so it's not so easy. So it's still a bottleneck. And the opportunity is great. They could do much more if they had They started with 3 analysts. They keep growing that team, but they can't grow it fast enough. So what we're doing is we're supercharging those analysts so the insights come much greater. This company does about 7 to 10 call studies per analyst per year. We can take that by a factor of 10 at least.
Wow.
So the ROI could be, $100 million.
Just because the way that the AI is built, plus the fact that you've already been analyzing these kinds of things for the past decade.
Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're not launching, that's why you might think, oh, it's just a feature. No, we're not launching a whole new product suite. We're taking the suite, the platform, the data, the behavioral data, leveraging all that and embedding Gen AI in the fingertips of the employees. These analysts now, these 17 become like 170.
Wow.
And that's like a totally different scale of insights and outcomes.
Complete game changer.
And they don't have to learn new stuff. It's actually easier now to use the tool than it was before. But you still need these analysts, but they're just supercharged. And I think there's a few elements of how this is unique. Happy to share more on that.
Please, yes.
Yeah. So people ask me, okay, but we already have this initiative. We're going to take our calls. We're going to use some, a transcription engine, and we're going to send it off to ChatGPT. And those are cool experiments. I'm excited to see those, but they don't generate outcomes for several reasons. First, AI is only as good as the data you feed it, especially generative AI. So it's the first thing when we talk about, let's say, speech analytics or calls in the call center, you need to transcribe those. Verint has the most accurate model now for transcribing phone calls. Again, it's not the most transcript, for videos or for YouTube clips. There's other engines that are better. But specifically for this domain, because we have that expertise for over 2 decades,
Sure.
and we keep making it better and better, we launched our exact transcription bot. So we're getting the most accurate transcription. The raw data is as accurate as it can be. That's the first step. The second step, when you're using Gen AI, you have to give it the right subset of data for the question you're answering. So in the example we showed this morning, we talked about customer churn. So speech analytics, as it is today, identified very accurate customer churn calls, and then I can interrogate and leverage Gen AI to ask questions about what's driving that churn, how we can prevent that churn, but I need to give the LLM or the right data set. We can curate that data set. It's kind of like a RAG process, but we're doing it very, very accurately, and if you send a random set of calls, you're not going to know what subset to send, and that gets much more complex. So that's solved within the Verint platform. It's also providing very recent. Our transcription works. We have a real-time version, but even in the offline version, within an hour, you have the calls transcribed and ready to be sent. So I can ask questions about something that's happening now or this morning, whereas even a trained LLM will give me data from months ago or weeks ago when it was last trained. So, it won't have the answers to what's affecting the trend from this morning or from this week. So those are key elements. And there's one more element of verification. Everybody's still a little worried about Gen AI hallucinations, right? What if the insight is not real? And that is a real problem when you don't give it the right data. But even if you give it the right data...
If it's getting data from the outside.
Right. So in this case, we validate in the workflow within speech analytics. We can click and drill all the way to the call. It brings me to this point where somebody said, hey, I wanted to cancel, and this was the reason. It was a price increase. I can quickly validate that. So an analyst can go through, validate 20 calls and say, yeah, this insight's valid, and be comfortable sharing that with their executives, and even export that to share it quickly. So I think those elements make Genie so exciting and why there's so much buzz around it. But it is part of a broader business analytics, initiative that covers all the use cases that's leveraging the unique Verint behavioral data.
So it begs probably another dozen questions, which we don't have to get into. But one of those is that because of its capabilities that are real, genuine BI, which probably has application well outside of CX and EX. One is that someplace that Verint's trying to go outside of the kind of home realm where you operate so well right now? Would be one question. And I don't know if there's an answer for that, but
yeah. So our focus is definitely CX automation, which EX is part of. So improving employee experience, improving customer experience, and that is a combination of doing that while reducing operating costs. So you're not just spending money to improve CX, but you're doing it actually becoming more efficient. I don't think we're expanding beyond that use case, but that use case, even though a lot of the data stems from the call center, the impact and the outcomes are enterprise-wide. For example, customer churn is not just a call center issue. It's an enterprise issue, retaining your customers or compliance or, changing your pricing policy. These go far outside the contact center. That's why it's so critical to get these insights quickly and be able to share them so the whole organization can leverage that. We do have solutions for the back office and for the branch. So we do go, but our focus is EX and CX, and I think it's such a strategic focus, and the impact is so great. We don't need to expand beyond that. But I agree with you. Gen AI does have other use cases, and there's great companies out there, including hyperscalers, that will probably focus on those use cases, and we focus on what we do best. Our data is specifically focused on CX and CX automation. Our applications and our bots are focused on that. They only do that well. So I don't think we're at least now expanding beyond that. But that is if I see the opportunity of how much impact this can have, we're talking tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So there's no need for us to go beyond that.
So we only have a few moments left, but you're the person I most wanted to ask this question to, just because of the nature of what you do. But so last year, Verint presented a handful of bots. So I think it was the first kind of portfolio of bots that you announced. This year, it's not so much about quantity as it is about quality, exactly what these things are doing. So, which is a very interesting evolution, and maturity in the way this is all being presented, and I think being received as well. But so look out another 12 months. What are we going to be talking about? What's going to be the most amazing thing on the agenda at that point?
First of all, I agree with you. At first, when we started off, it was more bots. Let's get as many bots as we can. I think now our focus, we have enough bots. We actually don't want to confuse to have so many, and people say, which bot should I start with? It's really about the impact the bots generate, the outcomes they generate. So I don't necessarily need so many bots as long as the bots generate the outcomes. And that's what we're focusing. And I think next year we will just show. We started showing that this year. Look at the outcomes we're seeing customers report from these bots. And there was, 70 million, 10 million, double digit in millions. I think next year like I said, the example I just came out of, I was blown away because they're talking about something they did. I can't share too much because it is,
sure.
But they're talking about an impact of over $1 billion that is directly CX impact. This is not about, and it's not necessarily even about cutting costs. But if we can get to those, to triple digit millions and billions, and I think it can get there in some cases. These are some of these are large organizations, but I think that's going to be the story. This is much bigger than you thought. And you know what changes? The discussion about timing and price. If I can save $1 billion, then whether I'm paying you $1 million or $1.5 million or $700K or $2 million, it doesn't matter. If I can save $1 billion, it's kind of like when you're investing in NVIDIA a year ago and somebody's saying, well, the transaction fee is $20, and you wouldn't argue, well, I want it for 18. The point is, let's just do this now because I don't want to miss out. If you wait another 3 months, that means another $30 million or $300 million, then you don't want to wait. Then now becomes imperative. And, getting to the outcomes as quickly as possible becomes imperative. I think that's going to be the theme is we're realizing these outcomes. So every day I'm not doing this, how much am I losing versus let's do an RFP and evaluate 50 different solutions and do an experiment and wait a year. How much money have you lost in that year?
When it's now practical, feasible.
When it's practical, feasible, proven, I think that's going to be the shift and we're already hearing this when we introduced the Genie. So they didn't even ask how much, just when. When can I get it?
Right.
They stopped asking about the price.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a big shift.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, I really appreciate this. I know you have been running hard all day today and yesterday, so to get on your schedule is an honor. And again, just to reiterate, Daniel Ziv is Vice President of AI and Analytics and is in the absolute thick of it in AI at Verint, and it's a real pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for coming here. And I appreciate it and share the excitement of what's going on.
It's exciting. Gail Magdowski is Director of Workforce Optimization, Quality and Special Services at MSC. I happen to know Gail a little bit from my last year's Verint Engage meeting, where Gail and her team won basically every award that came out because of their successes and their efforts and the work they've done to just build out a really, really complex system. So Gail, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. So we don't want to go too deep in the weeds here and there are a lot of weeds to discuss that you're deep in, but more on a high level, we've heard a lot about how Verint is building out AI-based capabilities and bots, but rather than talking about what you've done and how you got there, maybe just how do you see using technologies like this in the future to build out what you're doing at MSC?
Well, I got to tell you, we build our foundation MSC on people, process, and technology. And you need all three, the combination, to be successful. And technology is a big one, because that's where the puck is going. It's what you do today. They've already, built out, like you said, the bots. We're just catching up. We have laid the foundation with all our applications because we want to do it right. We want to do it right in the first time around. But with the bots, I like how they have positioned it. You can get faster and stronger outcomes, but you don't have to take big steps and leaps. You can do it very, in small implementations. They have 50 bots now.
Right.
I mean, that's overwhelming. And that they're not all customer facing. So I think in the beginning is that how we're going to look at it is we might take that low hanging fruit, right? But then look at what can we get the most bang out of the buck for us. But they've come a long way in 3 years. And now they're showcasing it. All their hard work and effort is now
it's kind
here.
of more public.
Yes,
right.
It's public.
Yeah. We've heard a lot about the fact that they've been developing some of these technologies for, better part of a decade, I think, in some cases. So really interesting that since last year when Verint was debuting its first kind of round of custom bots, now the bots are just they're just another set of tools, and we're talking more about the business outcomes. It's not, it's less about the shiny object, although AI is a very shiny object, and more about what you can do with it to build out businesses. And you've been in your role, I don't know how long, but it sounded based on the fact that you won all the awards last year. You clearly have a really good handle on how your business, which is very complicated, can develop out your customer-facing engagements. So, having seen and heard some of the things that are being debuted here, do any of those kind of spark your imagination of, wait a second, we can, or maybe you already are using some of these things?
So we're not, but yes. So my eyebrows, yep, it sparked my interest yesterday during the executive summit, because where we want to go, it's more of a superpower, like for speech. The Genie, having that bot is going to help us act faster and have faster and stronger outcomes. And you don't need extra analysts to help do the work because of that bot.
Right.
There was also the quality bot, with AQM. AQM hasn't been exactly perfect for our organization. However, I believe that this bot can get us there on our roadmap. So there again, you just have to take one step at a time, because there is so many options, and then you just got to have your organization, your senior leadership on board of what the roadmap is. And again, I like the fact with the speech and text, because it's another listening post to make us make decisions where we need to make them.
Right.
When it comes to prioritizing, what should we attack? What is our pain points? How can we turn those turn them around?
So
I guess that's how I want to say it.
I'm imagining that, just again, because you've won all the awards, your executive team probably has a fair degree of confidence in your abilities. So when you're laying out the technology roadmap, for a lot of companies, they're probably introducing these ideas as brand new, and the executive team has to kind of go, well, how do we validate that? In your case, though, it seems like you've been validating these ideas all along.
Well, the nice part is that within MSC, it's just not about my team. We collaborate with all our teams with MSC. You have to. When you're bringing in new technology, you want to make sure it's the right fit and that you're not in silos, especially with the customer experience. Right? So I have IT. I have the voice of the customer from the digital side of things. And if you collaborate and we're all trying to understand these bots, right? Every single team in our line of business has their own ideas, but we bring them all together and we decide what makes perfect sense for MSC, because we want to be lock and step and we no longer want to work in silos based on technology.
Right.
So that's where when I was saying people, process, and technology, we want to figure out how we can be the most efficient with the data that we have, and then provide all of our stakeholders. We want to make decisions based on the lens of all stakeholders for MSC.
Well, it's working, or
It
apparently
is.
from my standpoint it is. So congratulations again on all the
Okay.
awards.
Thank
Really
you.
great speaking with you.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate, Gail Magdowski is Director of Workforce Optimization, Quality and Special Services at MSC. Thanks a million.
Okay, thank you.
Brad Ramsey is SVP of U.S. Sales at Connex Telecommunications. And Brad and I, you're coming in on the tail end of a conversation because we've already been talking for a good 20 minutes about the industry, about what Connex is up to, and about some of the great things about coming from Canada. But Brad, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So just for context for people who were not participating in the earlier conversation, tell us what Connex is all about.
Connex is, we're a Canadian-based company. We're almost 30 years in existence. The original focus was around a lot of networking and on-premise, what we now refer to as unified communications, core telephony systems, VIA, and over the years we've evolved into a systems integrator for customer experience solutions and platforms and ecosystems.
One of the interesting things about my work is you find out who the right people are to ask opinions about technology. And it turns out, if you're in the know, you ask the systems integrators.
Okay.
I mean, because you guys are tasked with actually connecting the things that are sold in the brochures. That's up to you. And so anyway, this will be a fun conversation because you have that font of knowledge.
Well, I'd like to think so. When you're around as long as I have been, you see a lot, and been in this industry for 38 years, and the evolution has been tremendous. And I remember when the first voice over IP sort of hit the market, and there was a lot of skepticism about voice over IP, and Cisco at the time had to really do a hard sell. What crossed the chasm at that time is mobile phones had become very pervasive. So the concerns around landline technology versus voice over IP was, quality of service. But by the time voice over IP was enterprise grade, the quality of service was an issue because people have become accustomed to mobile phones with,
Right.
Cell coverage and lag and all that sort of stuff. So I've seen a lot, and we've evolved to such tremendous capabilities now. And you think of all this automation that we're going through, and the real-time nature and in-the-moment nature is unbelievable in context of how telecom and interaction modules have sort of evolved over time.
You talk about these big inflection points, and the voice over IP being one of them in this space. But I think we're in the midst of another big one here, because I remember being here last year at Verint Engage, and Verint announced a whole slew of bots that had unique functions to help out in the CX world. And I can remember, as somebody who sort of pays attention to the space, just being amazed. I mean, I think the overwhelming sentiment was just being amazed. Wow, that's really cool. But everything, my view, including a lot of people, has been like, okay, now let's forget being amazed. Now let's get down to what it can do. What are the outcomes that this stuff produces? And I know that, selling systems integration services, you probably have a view to that. So you've heard what Verint is offering. You may even have a view to the stuff that I can't see yet. It's not available to the public, but think about an inflection point in this industry and what we're going through. What do you see this looking like in a year or 2 or 5?
Inflection point is a absolutely great word for it, because that's where we are at. And what I love about the Verint approach, and they have some unique opportunities here, given they're also a 30-year-old company, and they've been so embedded in the customer service and customer experience ecosystem. The challenges that our customers are facing is not only the confusion of what is available, but also the risk of sort of this open AI environment, that ecosystem that can lead to, we think of hallucinations and we think of all the risk that goes around with that. What Verint has, and they've done it really well, and they've actually been in this environment for so many years. When you think of analytics and speech analytics, they used to be this, they talked about actionable intelligence, ironically, which was AI, but we've evolved that now to artificial intelligence. And they have a data set that's curated, that's safe, that's secure within a client's environment. So the opportunity to quickly and easily bring AI to life and bring automation and bots to life is somewhat unique, because you're not having to depend on public information
Right.
and misinformation and security breaches and all that sort of stuff. So that's where I think certainly Verint has an advantage at this point in time, that other companies haven't yet organized their data sets in a way that they can attain the same level of security and trust of data that a Verint can have right now.
And I don't know how a company that hasn't done that can do that retroactively. You can't just go back and, rebuild your LLM from scratch.
You can't.
It doesn't work that way.
You can't.
You kind of had to start this way, I think.
And even if you start today, there's a lot of work. I think the stats are 80 to 85% of data is unstructured. So first of all, you have to curate it, you have to structure it, you have to discern how trustworthy it is, and that's a big effort. I'm not sure. I think customers are expecting that they can find AI they can turn on quickly. There's a foundational work that needs to be done that I'm not sure people appreciate quite yet.
Right. Just a quick note. If it sounds like Brad really understands what Verint is all about, there's good reason for that. Brad's got a deep history at Verint and recently started leading up business development and broader strategy at Connex. So just a little context there, because you speak with a certain amount of authority that's a little unusual for an outsider. So, you're growing Connex's business in the U.S. As a Canadian company. Not that I don't see how that might even be a hurdle, but you are also systems integrators for other companies out there, some that are even directly competitive. So you see the feature sets, you see the integratability to these things, and you probably also see how the clients who are buying this technology or these technologies are thinking about what they're going to get out of them. And I'm really curious, when you talk to these people, what are their expectations and anticipations, and do you think they have shifted recently?
Absolutely have shifted. And the inflection point of AI and the predominance of the conversation around AI is forcing that, and the executive level expectation around what AI, how companies are leveraging AI for either cost reduction or customer service. They're absolutely trying to figure out how to get it right. There's a couple of interesting impetus for sort of investment at this time. AI is obviously one of them. There's the migration to the cloud, which is a big shift and initiative, and it's either end of life of legacy systems that have to be remediated because they're not supported, or it's cost saving, cost reduction, and or taking advantage of innovation at a much more accelerated pace. You think of life cycle management, and now in the cloud or cloud-based solutions have sort of product development on a monthly or biweekly cycle, and so people need that pace of innovation, and that's what's driving customers to migrate to the cloud, and that's what's customers to adopt AI at an accelerated pace. Those are the two big initiatives that I'm seeing, and people are trying to figure out, how to do that. The one thing, and yes, I was with Verint for many years, the open CCaaS conversation, which started a few years ago, it was somewhat ahead of its time because a lot of these closed systems, had a lot of success. But when you're ingesting AI and all of those elements, by necessity, it is an open CCaaS environment. And customers so you ask what customers are looking for, they are quickly coming to the conclusion that they need best-in-breed technology stacks within this customer engagement platforms. You may go to a Microsoft /Nuance because they have the best natural language and security authentication platform. They may go to Google if they're wanting some sort of FAQ. They'll use a Genesis, for example, for their call routing. They may use a Verint for their agent technology and call capture and workforce management type solutions. So these open platforms, best of breed, is what I'm seeing, and all the executives are trying to figure out how to knit that together.
Right. So when you're in these conversations and they're probably relying on yourself and people like you for guidance on how they can actually, rebuild these stacks and migrate from legacy capabilities and hurdles and, as you said, degradations into the new stuff. So, this is probably a much bigger question than is answerable in this forum, but, how does that conversation go? Because you're talking about an enormous amount of variables that have to be addressed, not just, call mapping just can be really, but down to the APIs and how they're going to work. And, is that a job that Connex takes on, or do you refer that out, or is it more of a kind of a consultative advisory function you provide there, or how does that work?
We can take on, and we do consultative advisory around it as well. It really starts with a roadmap, and I've been pleasantly surprised at how much that has become part of the conversation. And I think it should have happened earlier. It hasn't, but it's been great. And I talked to my colleagues in the industry, and they're seeing the same sort of thing. Let's have these $10,000, $15,000 engagements come in and help us understand the priorities that we should go in this evolution, because it is a lot to bite off.
It really is.
And it's a function of what the technology lifecycle is on existing. It is sort of what innovation and cost savings you can have on the other end of the equation. So how do you prioritize that in a way that's most effective?
It's certainly an interesting moment in CX and related spaces,
Yep.
and I think it's only going to get more interesting. Brad, thanks a million for the time and the conversation. Looking forward to being able to do this again sometime.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
To Tim Richter, who's Senior Director of Product Marketing at Five9, and John Bourne, SVP of Global Channels and Alliances at Verint, for being here after a couple of long days at this show. It's been a fantastic and exciting show. One of the things that came out, though, was this big announcement about the partnership. So if you would, Tim, maybe you could just kind of walk us through the announcement.
Sure, happy to. So we were really excited to issue the joint press release and announce a deepened partnership between Five9 and Verint, which of course has had a 7+ year relationship already. And what we've announced newly is a new native cloud integration between Five9's cloud and Verint's cloud, which allows customers to access the latest innovations within Verint's cloud, and then also use the intelligent CX platform from Five9. And we're particularly thrilled because it gives Five9 an opportunity to not just sell the Verint cloud solutions, but also to have a big role in configuring and supporting the solutions as well. So as we like to say, we've built a practice around Verint at Five9, and it's a critical partner for our go-to-market.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say from outside, Five9 is one of our most strategic partners. Certainly CCaaS vendors. We've had this relationship from 2016, so it goes back a long way. We started out one path even before Verint had its own cloud. So in many respects, Five9 has been offering Verint in the cloud, in their cloud. But now, because of all the innovation that we have in the platform, now we're a platform vendor. We have a platform-to-platform offering that we think is incredibly competitive in the market. It's very, very competitive in the high end and the enterprise end of the market, which I think are the ones that we're seeing a lot of investment in business outcomes now. And I think the bots that we're bringing to the table together now are really going to give Five9 some major differentiation against their competitors.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations to you both. It's a big deal. We want to be a part of spreading the word. So again, high fives to everybody.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you very much.